The crypto market is heating up again in 2025. But one thing never changes. The same rookie mistakes investors keep making over and over again. Hey there. Welcome to CryptoHunt. This is where I share raw, real-world insights from my own boots on the ground journey in crypto investing. No fluff, no hype, just what works and what hurts. And in this very first video, I want to talk about something extremely real, 4 critical mistakes that are happening all over again during this current bull cycle. These aren't just theories I read in a book. I've watched these mistakes unfold in the community time and time again. I've made some of them myself, and I've paid for them. With time, with money, and with patience that ran out too soon. Maybe you've been through the 2021 madness, when DeFi, NFTs, and GameFi sent the space into a frenzy, or maybe you're brand new, joining the market now with big hopes for AI, real-world assets, Layer 2S, or those too good to be true staking yields. But wherever you are on this path, recognizing the psychological traps and outdated strategies is absolutely crucial if you want to survive and thrive in this brutally competitive arena. So let's walk through the 4 most common mistakes investors are still making in 2025. So you don't look back at this year full of regret. The crypto space has evolved massively since the last cycle from 2021 to 2025. We've seen the rise of AI integrations, quantum-resistant blockchains, DeFi 2, zero protocols, and lightning-fast infrastructure with insane TPS. But what's even more important, the market structure itself has matured, big players are here, regulations are tightening. From the MiCA framework in Europe to Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs finally being approved, and whispers of altcoin ETFs slowly gaining traction. But here's the kicker. As the market grows up, the rules of the game change. Back in 2021, hype and FOMO were enough to make money. You could literally just buy and hold random tokens and watch them moon overnight. But in 2025, blindly DCAing into random altcoins like it's still 2021 is a recipe for bleeding out. And it's not just new investors getting wrecked. Even seasoned players who've been around since 2017 or 2020 are seeing abysmal returns when they stick to outdated strategies. Let me break this down. Ethereum is no longer leading the altcoin season narrative. In fact, ETH has been struggling to redefine its direction. Its once buzzing ecosystem is quiet. You can feel it just by looking at gas fees. In 2023 to 2024, gas on Ethereum could spike to over $100. Now, you can move assets for less than $1. That's not a good sign. That's a symptom of stagnation. Top exchanges, no longer a stamp of credibility. New listings often get dumped instantly. And the platforms are now flooded with low-value meme coins listed just to chase volume, not value. Every day, hundreds of new projects pop up, splintering liquidity and fragmenting investor attention. Most of them lack long-term vision or dev commitment. It's chaos out there. And meme coins, they've taken over. Pump. Fun has become the new casino. And it's changing how the game is played. So here's the million-dollar question. Can we really rely on lessons from 2021 in a 2025 market that looks nothing like it? That's exactly what we'll unpack next. 4 common mistakes in crypto investing in 2025. Blindly trusting VC valuations. The first big mistake that most investors are still making in 2025 is this: buying a project just because of the valuation it got from venture capital funds. Let me give you a concrete example. Take Wormhole. If you look around the community, tons of people are stuck holding tokens. They bought somewhere between $0, 30 to $0. Woosher. Aside from the fact that the project raised $225 million and had Jump Crypto backing it, The biggest reason people jumped in was because the token was sold to VCs at $0. 25. And the logic went something like this. If I can get in at $0, 30 or $0. Woosher, that's still close enough to the fund's entry price. It's a strong position. Some even convinced themselves, if I buy here, I'm basically sitting at the VC table. People put their faith in stories like these. First, VCs don't lose, right? $0. 25 must be a safe floor. Second, the market is about to explode in 2024 and 2025. Third, Jump Crypto is behind it, and they're known as market makers with deep pockets and heavy influence. Fourth, Staking W will potentially give you airdrops from Monad, making it even more appealing. The result? Wormhole is now trading at just $0, 6299, nearly 8x down from the $0. 50 level that so many thought was safe. And this isn't a one-off case. Let's talk about Scroll. SER, its last valuation was $1, 8 billion with a 1 billion token supply, meaning funds bought in at $1, 80 per token. The highest price it ever reached was $1. Sanchusen. Anyone who thought they were getting in below VC price might be shocked to know that today, one SCR is worth just $0. 20. An almost unthinkable drop for a project that raised $80 million. Same story with Fuel Network. Fuel. Its most recent round valued it at $1 billion, raising 20 million. If you bought near its ATH, when one fuel was priced at $0, Tishiba, giving it a fully diluted value of $780 million. Your investment is now down nearly 11x. The idea that you're riding with the big guys just because you bought at their price point is a leftover mindset from the 2021 bull run. But the market has taught most of us a harsh truth: even funds can lose. And VC entry price, it's not some magical level that guarantees you upside. Plus, let's be honest, transparency in how these funds actually operate is still a big question mark. Did they really buy at the price they publicly disclosed? Or were there backdoor deals, insider agreements, or strategic setups designed to offload risk onto retail? We'll likely never know. That's why, instead of blindly trusting VC price as a golden entry, you should treat it as just one data point, not the North Star. Don't anchor your entire investment thesis to a number someone else gave you, especially when that someone doesn't lose sleep over your capital. Are chasing narratives without understanding the shift. Back in the 2021 cycle, every hot narrative had a clear leader. That one flagship project would attract the spotlight and pull in all the liquidity, lifting up other tokens in the same category. But in 2025, things don't work like that anymore. The game has changed, and the rules are different. Let's rewind to the 2020-2021 cycle. Axie Infinity didn't just grow, it ignited the entire GameFi movement. A step N made Move to Earn explode. Olympus DAO kicked off the infamous 3 Ponzi-style DeFi wave. Sandbox and Decentraland carried the whole metaverse trend on their backs. And when it came to NFTs, BAYC and CryptoPunks were the undeniable kings. But fast forward to 2024, 2025, and the pattern is no longer the same. Sure, Ronin made a big move in gaming, jumping from $0, 40 to over $4. Sure, but other GameFi projects barely moved. They didn't ride the same wave. Restaking, which was hyped as the next big thing, has had a surprisingly uneven run. Eigenlayer, Ether, FI, Renzo each pumped off of isolated news or token events. There was no synchronized momentum. Even in the DePIN space, names like Gruss, Render, or IO net all moved based on project-specific headlines, not industry-wide momentum. In fact, the only two narratives that saw consistent sector-wide growth this cycle were meme coins and AI agents. Everything else? Scattered, disconnected, every token fighting its own battle. So if your 2025 strategy is buy the smaller coin in the same niche as the leader and wait for it to moon, you're probably going to be disappointed. That old rising tide lifts all boats approach just isn't working anymore. Why has this shift happened? Reason number one, the nature of the market has changed. Back in 2021, crypto was still the Wild West. New investors were pouring in, FOMO was sky high, and money flowed into anything with a logo and a dream. Even low-effort projects with no real product could pump. But by 2025, the market has matured. Liquidity isn't scattered randomly across trends. It flows more carefully, targeting only the strongest and most fundamentally sound projects. Reason number two, smarter capital is in control. After more than a decade, crypto is no longer a get-rich-quick playground. It's becoming a real financial ecosystem. That means the money is getting smarter. Investors aren't just following hype. They're evaluating teams, roadmaps, partnerships, and tokenomics. Capital is concentrating in projects with actual utility, real innovation, and clear long-term value. Reason number three, the space is fragmented like never before. From DeFi and GameFi to AI agents, NFTs, restaking protocols, and meme coins. There are dozens of sectors now, each with hundreds of projects fighting for attention. The narrative waves are no longer strong enough to carry every token in the category. There's simply not enough liquidity to go around. You have to be selective. Very selective. In 2025, it's not enough to follow a trend. You have to pick winners within that trend, projects that aren't just part of the story, but are actually writing it. Sen, investing based on how much a project raised. Another popular metric that traps investors is the total amount of money a project raised. People assume if it raised a huge round, it must be solid. But in reality, that logic has led a lot of folks straight into the abyss. Let's look at some examples. Alio pulled in $228 million from major players like a 16Z, SoftBank, and Polychain Capital. Sounds impressive, right? Today, the market cap is just around $70 million. The chart has been a one-way ticket straight down. Even after mainnet went live in September 2024, the ecosystem is still barely functional. Their Discord is silent, and team updates are few and far between. Or take ZK Sync. ZK, over $400 million in backing from top funds. But it's failed to build a thriving ecosystem. Zk Ignite never lived up to the hype, and the so-called elastic chain vision is falling flat. The network is basically deserted, and the token? Slow rock territory. Anyone who believed in the $400 million means guaranteed success narrative is now staring at serious losses. Then there's Aether, ATH, which raised more than $150 million. From a business standpoint, they nailed it, making $146 million just from node sales. But if you're an investor, that's a red flag. The project's only real momentum came from selling nodes, and that created massive sell pressure on retail buyers. If you bought ATH expecting upside, you probably walked away with pain instead. These are just a few of the big name projects that raised absurd amounts of capital. Many of them are simply going through the motions. No real innovation, no urgency, roadmaps constantly delayed, community engagement minimal. Even before looking at the token's price, you can often gauge a project's quality just by observing how they build their ecosystem and how they treat their community. And in many cases, those two things speak louder than the funding headline ever could. So, Believing the project will pump before they dump. One final trap a lot of us fall into is this fantasy. The idea that the project has to pump the token before they sell to build hype, attract liquidity, then offload. Sounds logical, right? So we keep holding even after the token's been cut by 80 to 90%. Why? Because we think they raised so much money, they have to protect the price. But we ignore the fundamentals. We don't evaluate product quality or token mechanics. We just look at how much they raised and convince ourselves they'll create a pump before any dump happens. But here's the truth. Many of these teams don't need to create a massive rally to cash out. There's a new strategy in playlist, the token at an insanely high valuation with a super low circulating supply. Then slowly unlock tokens and sell over time. No hype, no fireworks, just a slow, grinding dump that bleeds investors out without making a sound. Want real examples? Alt layer ALT had a fully diluted valuation, FDV, of $6 billion at one point. Now, down to $264 million. That's a 24x drop. Starknet, STRK, once valued over $30 billion FDV, now just $1. $1 billion, a collapse of nearly 25x. Dimension DYM dropped from $8. $2 billion to $222 million. Saga went from nearly $7 billion to $220 million. Omni Network. Omni fell from $2, $9 billion to $142 million. All of them followed the same playbook. Launch high, unlock slowly, drain the market over time. But why did people still buy at those insane valuations? There are a few reasons. First, Bitcoin surged in Q1 2024 from $40, zero to over $60. Ling, that bullish momentum made anything seem possible. Projects launching during that window looked golden. Second, investor psychology. When Bitcoin goes up, optimism floods the space. People justify sky-high valuations, believing the market is now mature enough to support them. But only when the trend reverses do we realize those valuations were never sustainable for low-value projects. Third, great storytelling. Every project I just mentioned launched with a strong narrative. Modular blockchains, Ethereum Layer 2S, all branded as the future of crypto. Influencers and market makers pushed that message hard, and the community believed it. They thought they were investing in real innovation. But the truth? These weren't long-term plays. These were setups, carefully orchestrated exits, wrapped in hype. So those were the most common mistakes we've seen across the crypto space in 2025. The question is, what can we actually learn from all of this moving forward? Here are 4 key takeaways to help you navigate the next phase of this market. With clarity and confidence, a token is a product, not a promise. Just because a project is generating revenue doesn't mean its token will go up in value. It all comes down to tokenomics. Look at Starknet, ZK Sync, Magic Eden, or Zora. They could all operate perfectly fine without a token. So don't just analyze the product or the team. Ask yourself, does the token have real utility in the ecosystem? If not, even the best project might lead to a losing investment. Or rethink what strong fundamentals actually means. It's time to go beyond flashy funding rounds or tier 1 investor names. What matters now is valuation, product market fit, and execution. In a market flooded with overfunded narratives and polished pitch decks, your edge is to look deeper, find the builders, spot the difference between substance and hype. San, always track Bitcoin first. No matter how hot a narrative seems, always start by checking where BTC is on the macro chart. If Bitcoin has already been rallying for a while, New token launches are often dangerously overpriced. That's exactly what we saw in Q1 2024, overvalued tokens dropping like flies, simply because the cycle was overextended. Nothing is guaranteed. Funds can take losses. Projects can shut down. Tokens can be offloaded through OTC deals and disappear without warning. Just because something looks like the next big thing doesn't mean it can't crash overnight. That's why your best defense is due diligence, not dreams. Look beyond the narrative. Study the mechanics. And remember, your conviction should come from facts, not FOMO. 2025 might be one of the trickiest cycles we've seen. But here's the truth. The opportunity is still here for those willing to stay sharp, stay humble, and learn from every mistake. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this video valuable, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more no BS insights into crypto investing. This is CryptoHunt, and I'll see you in the next one.